Intro music. Epic. Middle Eastern-infused orchestral score fades in and out. Narrator's voice, deep, engaging, dramatic. Hello, history enthusiasts, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we journey back in time to an empire that spanned 3 continents, endured for over 6 centuries, and left an indelible mark on the tapestry of global history. The Ottoman Empire. From its humble origins as a small Anatolian beylik to a sprawling superpower, the Ottomans shaped the world, influencing everything from geopolitics and architecture to cuisine and culture. Prepare to uncover the rise, the glory, and the eventual fall of one of history's most enduring and fascinating civilizations. Visual. Map showing the small beylik of Osman, then expanding rapidly over time. Our story begins in the late 13th century, amidst the twilight of the Seljuk Sultanate of Rum, as the Mongol hordes swept across Central Asia, pushing Turkic tribes westward. A charismatic leader named Osman I emerged around 1299 in the region of Bithynia, northwestern Anatolia. Osman declared his independence, laying the cornerstone of what would become a monumental empire. This nascent state, named after its founder, was initially a Ghazi principality, a frontier state dedicated to holy war against the Byzantine Empire, then a shadow of its former glory. Osman's successors, Orhan I and Murad I, rapidly expanded the Ottoman domain. Orhan captured Bursa in 1326, making it the first Ottoman capital, and crossed into Europe, seizing Gallipoli in 1354. Murad I, a formidable military leader, further consolidated power, defeating a coalition of Balkan states at the Battle of Kosovo in 1389. This victory effectively cemented Ottoman control over the Balkans, bringing Serbs, Bulgarians, and Greeks under their suzerainty. The Ottomans were not just conquerors, they were pragmatic administrators, often integrating local elites and allowing religious autonomy, a policy known as the millet system, which granted non-Muslim communities the right to govern themselves under their own religious laws. This pragmatic approach fostered stability and loyalty in conquered territories, a crucial factor in their long-term success. Visual. Depiction of janissaries in formation. Then a close-up of their distinctive uniform. One of the most compelling and unique aspects of early Ottoman military power was the Janissary Corps. Compelling historical fact 1. Established in the 14th century, the Janissaries were an elite infantry unit, uniquely recruited through the Devshirme system. This involved the periodic levy of Christian boys from conquered territories, who were then converted to Islam, educated, and rigorously trained to become loyal soldiers and administrators. These boys were effectively slave soldiers of the Sultan, cut off from their original families and communities, ensuring their absolute loyalty. They were a professional, standing army, disciplined and equipped with cutting-edge weaponry, including muskets and cannons, long before many European powers. This revolutionary military structure gave the Ottomans a distinct advantage for centuries. Visual. Animated map showing the siege of Constantinople. Then artistic renditions of the city walls. The ultimate prize, however, remained elusive. Constantinople, the fabled capital of the Byzantine Empire. For centuries, this magnificent city, with its impregnable walls, had stood as a bastion of Christendom. But by the 15th century, the Byzantine Empire was a mere city-state, a vulnerable island in a rising Ottoman sea. The task of finally breaching its walls fell to one of history's most brilliant and ruthless strategists, Sultan Mehmed II, known as Fatih the Conqueror. In 1453, Mehmed, just 21 years old, laid siege to Constantinople with an army estimated at 80,000 to 100,000 men and a formidable fleet. His secret weapon? Mammoth cannons, designed by the Hungarian engineer Orban, capable of firing stone balls weighing over half a ton. Compelling historical fact 2. One such cannon, the basilic, was so large it required 60 oxen and 400 men to transport it. After a grueling 53-day siege, involving desperate Byzantine resistance and an ingenious Ottoman maneuver where ships were dragged overland into the Golden Horn, the city finally fell on the 29th of May 1453. Mehmed rode triumphantly into the city, converting the Hagia Sophia, the grandest church of Christendom, into a mosque. The fall of Constantinople was a seismic event that sent shockwaves across Europe, marking the definitive end of the Roman Empire and the dawn of a new era for the Ottomans, who now had a strategic capital at the crossroads of east and west. The city, renamed Istanbul, became the vibrant heart of the Ottoman Empire. Visual. Opulent scenes from Topkapi Palace. Ottoman art. Suleiman's portrait. The 16th century heralded the golden age of the Ottoman Empire, reaching its zenith under the reign of Suleiman I, known in the West as Suleiman the Magnificent, and to his own people as Kanuni, the lawgiver. From 1520 to 1566, Suleiman presided over an empire that stretched from Hungary in the north to Yemen in the south, and from Algeria in the west to the Caucasus in the east. He was a military genius, conquering Belgrade in 1521, Rhodes in 1522, and inflicting a decisive defeat on the Hungarians at the Battle of Mohacs in 1526. Opening the path to Central Europe. His armies even reached the gates of Vienna, though they failed to take the city in 1529. But Suleiman was more than just a conqueror. He was a patron of the arts, a reformer of laws, and a builder of magnificent structures. Under his patronage, Ottoman art, architecture, and literature flourished. The legendary architect Mimar Sinan, often compared to Michelangelo, designed hundreds of mosques, bridges, and public buildings, including the Süleymaniyye Mosque in Istanbul, a masterpiece of Ottoman architecture. Suleiman codified the empire's laws, creating a legal framework that governed for centuries. His court was a center of scholarship, poetry, and scientific advancement. Visual. Close-up of coffee beans, then a bustling Ottoman coffee house scene. During this golden age, the Ottomans also introduced a cultural phenomenon that would sweep across the globe: coffee. Compelling historical fact 3. While coffee originated in Ethiopia, it was the Ottomans who popularized its consumption and created the first coffee houses, or kahvehane, in Istanbul in the mid-16th century. These establishments quickly became vibrant social hubs, places for discussion, poetry, and chess, profoundly influencing European social life. When coffee made its way west, the very word coffee derives from the Ottoman Turkish kahve. Visual. Interior of the harem in Topkapi Palace. Then a depiction of Roxolana, Hurrem Sultan. Another fascinating aspect of Ottoman society, particularly during its golden age, was the imperial harem. Compelling historical fact 4. Often misunderstood in Western narratives as merely a place of sensual pleasure, the harem was in fact a highly structured, Politically influential institution. A forbidden world where the Sultan's mother, the Valide Sultan, his wives, concubines, and female relatives held significant power. The Valide Sultan, in particular, often acted as a regent or chief advisor to her son, sometimes wielding more influence than the Grand Vizier. Roxolana, or Hurrem Sultan, Sulayman's chief consort, is a prime example of this. A former slave, she rose to become Sulayman's legal wife, breaking centuries of Ottoman tradition, and actively participated in state affairs, corresponding with foreign monarchs and advising her husband. The harem was a complex ecosystem of power, intrigue, and rigid hierarchy. Visual. Gradual decline imagery, crumbling architecture, faded maps, less vibrant scenes. Despite its extraordinary achievements, no empire is eternal. From the late 17th century onwards, the Ottoman Empire entered a long period of decline, often referred to as the sick man of Europe. Several factors contributed to this gradual weakening. The empire's vast size made administration increasingly difficult. A series of less capable sultans, often confined to the palace and lacking military experience, led to a weakening of central authority and a rise in corruption. The Janissaries, once the empire's greatest strength, became a conservative, self-serving force, resisting modernization and even staging revolts against sultans who attempted reform. Visual. European Industrial Revolution scenes versus static Ottoman scenes. Economically, the discovery of new sea routes to Asia by European powers bypassed the Ottoman land routes, diminishing their trade revenues. Militarily, European armies, particularly those of Austria and Russia, began to surpass the Ottomans in technology and tactics. The defeat at the Battle of Vienna in 1683, where a coalition of European forces repelled a major Ottoman siege, marked a turning point, signaling the end of Ottoman expansion into Europe. Throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, the Ottomans attempted various reforms, known as the Tanzimat period, to modernize their military, bureaucracy, and legal systems along Western lines. Sultan Mahmud II, in 1826, famously abolished the Janissary Corps in what became known as the Auspicious Incident, massacring thousands of them to pave the way for a modern army. However, these reforms were often too little, too late, and faced significant internal resistance. Nationalism also began to tear at the empire's multi-ethnic fabric, leading to revolts and independence movements in the Balkans, Greece, and other regions. Visual. World War I trench warfare. Then Mustafa Kemal Ataturk's image. The final blow came with the First World War. The Ottoman Empire, aligning itself with the Central Powers, Germany and Austria-Hungary, found itself on the losing side. After 4 years of brutal conflict, suffering immense casualties and territorial losses, the empire was defeated. The Mudros Armistice of 1918 effectively ended the war for the Ottomans, and the subsequent Treaty of Sèvres in 1920 proposed partitioning much of the empire. However, a nationalist movement led by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk resisted this partition, fighting the Turkish War of Independence. In 1922, the Ottoman Sultanate was formally abolished, and in 1923, the Republic of Turkey was declared, marking the definitive end of the Ottoman Empire after 624 years. Visual. Modern Istanbul, blending ancient and modern architecture. The legacy of the Ottoman Empire is vast and complex. It was an empire that, for centuries, stood as a bridge between East and West, inheriting the mantle of both the Roman and Islamic civilizations. Its contributions to art, architecture, law, and culture are undeniable. From the majestic mosques of Istanbul to the intricate calligraphy and miniature paintings, it fostered a unique multicultural society, albeit one with inherent hierarchies, and left behind a rich tapestry of traditions that continue to influence the modern world. Compelling historical fact 5. The Ottoman Empire was one of the longest-lasting empires in history, enduring for over 6 centuries, a feat surpassed by very few, such as the Roman and Chinese empires. Its longevity is a testament to its adaptive governance, military prowess, and sophisticated administrative systems, which allowed it to weather countless internal and external challenges. From the fierce Ghazis of Osman to the grandeur of Sulayman the Magnificent, and from the fall of Constantinople to the birth of modern Turkey, the Ottoman story is one of ambition, innovation, power, and ultimately, transformation. It reminds us that history is a dynamic force, constantly shaping and reshaping our world, leaving behind echoes that resonate even today. Outro music fades in. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the heart of the Ottoman Empire. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most compelling stories. Let us know in the comments what empire or historical event you'd like us to explore next. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning. Goodbye for now. Music fades out.